Good evening, and thanks for joining us for CBS News Detroit at 7. I'm Amyre Makupson. We are coming up on what will be the eve of Black History Month, so we here at CBS Detroit are taking a look at our own history. You may not realize that Detroit, Michigan was the launching ground for many black journalists. It all happened down Jefferson at WGPR. It was the first black-owned station in the United States. WGPR featured programming for the black community that included a music show, talk show, dance show, and the big city news featuring a very cute Amyre Porter. Now, you may not recognize that name. It's Amyre Makupson, as you know it. She just so happens to be my mom, and she is joining us here now. So, Mom, welcome to your new
it's
set
good to be
and
here.
cast and all of this fun stuff. So this feels a little bit surreal, right?
It does. It feels different. I look around, which looks nothing like when we were doing it 20 years ago. But it's exciting. It's new. It's different. It's bright. It's very, very nice.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing.
Oh yeah.
So I was alluding to it before with WGPR and being down Jefferson. Can you just tell us a little bit about that station?
Well, as you said, it was the first black-owned and operated station in the country. A lot of us came there with very little experience, and that's what I've always said is a good thing about it. Somebody was willing to give us a chance and let us hone our skills and learn more and go on and do bigger things, and that's exactly what happened. We got to really learn television, got an opportunity again that we wouldn't have had otherwise, and kind of breaking barriers because everybody had maybe a token minority or so, black person or so, but by anybody's account was it in the masses. So it was good for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons.
And what was happening back then in the black community?
Oh gosh, what was happening? We had, I guess it was maybe a little beyond riot time, but we had a lot of problems in schools. Discrimination has always been a problem, and still was at that time. Young people trying to get involved in things that they thought they could change or add something to bring about positiveness. And, you know, just kind of the same problems dressed a little differently. And those are the things we tried crime, education, tried to figure it out, you know.
Do you think that back then those types of stories, especially stories for the black community, were getting the attention that was deserved?
Absolutely not. We had so many, and that was the point of this station. We all had news. Everybody had relatively the same news because whatever was happening was what you covered. But you have to look at a different perspective, and the other stations were not doing that. And I'm not trying to slam them. I'm not saying that they didn't do what they ought to do, but number one, they couldn't. They had no one there they could really talk to or get a real, true inside perspective. So it took a while to get, you know, to get acclimated and to allow us to tell our story the way it really happened, from the inside out, not the outside in. And that took a lot of doing, a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of effort and research and things like that, and stories that, you know, weren't necessary, leave them alone. Stories that are good, let's pick up some of these stories.
Mm-hmm. And now it's all a museum with all these great pictures.
It's a beautiful museum. It's on Jefferson, the original site of the station, and they have we actually have the first newscast we did, which I was on. I anchored Amyre Porter, Big City News, and Pal DeQ. So that's there. Some Emmy Awards are there. A lot of pictures and background and explanations, and it's beautiful. It really is, and it shows we have had people who've had major success. People you know their names, people you don't. Writers, producers, directors. So it was wonderful, and it captures that so you don't forget it. It's too important to forget. So you always have somebody who will take the wheel and you start driving with it.
Yeah. Well, what kind of challenges were you facing then?
Oh, I faced all kinds of challenges, but I think we all did. You know, there's always been discrimination. It's been terribly unfair and has had horrible results. There's always been discrimination against women, and for the same reasons had bad results. It was a field, I guess, mostly thought to be a man's field. And so you just kind of have to deal with that. But if you persist, you will be able to succeed, but you can't give up. Never, never, never give up. Problems, you know, you just put different clothes on them, same problems. We're not obviously very good at solving them, some of them maybe, but not all of them. So we just keep moving in that direction as much as we can.
Did you think back then when you were at this, for lack of better words, and small station in Detroit, that it would turn into everything that it did and evolve into you being a Detroit legend? And I know you're going to say you're not, but you are. So you're going to have to own it in this moment.
That's exactly what I was going to say. But I just, you know, yeah, it was a small station. Yes, it was a startup organization, and there's a lot of failure there. But I can apply the same thing. If you have enough people who believe in you, if you have enough people who are willing to do things like support your station financially, to get political support, which we did from, I think it was President Richard Nixon at the time. We got a license to do the station. I'm not surprised, excuse me, I'm not surprised at all that it has turned into the wonderful thing that it has. GPR was on its own for a long time, and then when it came up for sale, it of course made a huge difference in Channel 50, where I was at the time, and with GPR there, because it was dissolved. But no, I'm not surprised, because we had smart people, we had ambitious people, we had people who wanted to learn. They would do almost anything, and get a lot of practice and get a lot of honing of skill from people who were there, because a lot of people at other television stations came to 50, and anyway, so it all mixed and all got together. But it worked out really, really well, I think. No, I'm not surprised, and I won't be surprised if it does leaps and bounds from this point.
Yeah. Well, I remember growing up of you telling a lot of stories of being at GPR. It was difficult with the time, with the money, with the support, the community support behind it, but you stuck with it.
Well, you know why, Mirzi? Because I should call you Amyre.
It's okay, I call you Mom.
Because I believed in myself, and I believed in the people who were here. I believed we had a great idea, that we could make it work, but we got to be on the same page. You got to have cohesiveness. And I think we did that for the most part. Hired a lot of people, kind of weeded out the ones who weren't pulling their weight, looking for others. Believe, you got to believe, you got to have a little luck, you have to have a little preparation, and when those two things or those three things meet, hey, you got a success.
Yes, but then it all came to a stop, you know, at least for a little while. What then was your transition from WGPR to what was then WKBD?
That's a good question, because I was at WGPR for a short time, and of course it was a little more difficult for them than a lot of other people. I was offered a job at Channel 50, and I thought, maybe I'll take it, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll stay for a year or so. I really had intended to stay a year or so, but I knew that if I was going to follow this dream, this would be the next step. So I decided to go and work there. I was able to do exactly what I wanted to do, and I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and things got better and better. The people I really liked, the station, the idea, the mission, I liked all of that, and it was good for me. And before I knew it, I had been there 20 plus years, and I was going to stay only 2. But no, I believed in myself, and I really think that that's very important. If you can portray that over the air, then people are going to believe in you too, and that's when they're going to choose you over the zillion other people they have to choose from.
Yeah, and at the time with the GPR, it was kind of an underdog type situation, and then the news started up here, and you were an underdog again, and then you rose to the top on each occasion. Is there any way to even explain how you were able to do that?
Because I'm good. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, oh, no, you're right.
No, we had a beautiful team. Again, I have to repeat myself. We had a beautiful group of people who believed in themselves, who knew we could do things, who knew we could make it grow, who knew we could make a mark and leave a stamp, and that's just exactly what we did. Some of those people, as you know, are still here today. Mm-hmm. This station went on the air, I think, no, I'm thinking of something else. News, I think we started in '85, and that was the second 10 o'clock news effort. And we were on for, I don't know, 16, 18 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
What do you miss the most?
No, I'm sorry. I got a little cough here. It's funny, I miss the action. I miss being involved in what's going on. I truly miss the people. But you stay in touch with a few and you have good relationships. I miss the excitement. And sometimes I'm glad, because it's time to rest at some point. You can't just ignore that. But I miss all of it, and sometimes I don't miss it at all because I can just do what I want when I want, and there's no, you know, you're not always having to go somewhere. I remember Ken Bryant, who you're going to talk with next, he said to me, he said the reason he wasn't too sure about television was because he would, you always have to be somewhere, you always have to go somewhere. And I never thought of it like that, you know, but you do, but whatever your thing is, you rise to the occasion and do it.
And before we bring Kenny out here, is there anything you would have done differently if you could go back?
You know, I guess I could sit here and think of some things that I would change, but I would do it all over again, changing very little, if anything. I felt I was the luckiest person in the world. I loved what I was doing, loved the people, loved the content, loved everything about it. And I just felt so fortunate and so blessed and so brushed with luck to be able to wind up in the position that I did.
All right, well, we'll talk more about it, Mama. We'll be right back in just a minute. We'll be joined by Ken Bryant.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Macomb County. Hi, we're CBS News Detroit, but we don't just cover the news here. We're also here, and everywhere in between. You know, the places you live, work, and play in Southeast Michigan. We're talking less of this, and more of the stories that actually matter to you.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock.
That's right, local news just found a home in your neighborhood. We're CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Nice to meet you. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Wayne County. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Monroe County.
CBS News Detroit, the stories you care about.
Live, streaming, and on demand. We're on your block, around the clock.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We live here. We work here.
From North Branch to Southgate.
East Point to Westland.
Wherever you live, we're here for you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Building a better newscast, one story at a time.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Oakland County.
How would you build the newscast of the future?
Expect the unexpected.
CBS News Detroit.
CBS News Detroit.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We're ready to go live from your community.
Anywhere, anytime.
Live streaming and on demand.
That's the name of the game.
We are ready.
CBS News Detroit, in your neighborhood. Live, streaming, and on demand.
This is a TV 50 news update. Here's Amyre Makupson.
Good evening. These are some of the stories we're following for you in the news tonight. Reverend Jesse Jackson in town today leading protests against layoffs at two of Detroit's major corporations. We'll tell you all about it. There's a Christmas controversy in one local area where the decorations seem to be getting in the way, putting people out of the spirit. We'll fill you in. And the amazing Around the World experiment is expected to return home tomorrow. We'll bring you a complete update. Now this.
Wow, that voice comes back and you hear everything.
Yeah.
One of the people, though, who put you on the air, Ken Bryant, was back there in the director's chair. So.
Yes,
Yep. So your career started here in Detroit too.
Well, it actually did. It started at WGPR TV, Channel 62. As a matter of fact, I directed the first show that they put on the air.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what started my career. And it was a wonderful experience, and it was shortly after I was there for about 6 months, and then a position came open here, and they hired me here, you know, and so then I started directing Bill Kennedy at the movies, and Lou Gordon, and Bill Kennedy at the movies. Oh, I love that. Bill was so wonderful, you know, he was such a nice guy. But it was at this station that I really got the experience that I need to actually be doing what I'm doing now. You know, I'm pastoring the church now, you know, but I got the experience here and to do it, you know. But, you know, television industry is just incredible. And all of my children, Kenneth and Aaron and Ariel, they also were interns here. So they worked here doing some things and going out in the field and doing some video recordings and editing things together, and they broadcasted them on the air. So they got their experience here too. And my son, Aaron's now over it. He's a videographer at Fox 2.
Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. Mom, do you have a favorite memory of Kenny?
I have so many memories. Kenny used to, here's one. Whatever the haircut was fad of the day, Kenny'd go get it. He has some wild hairdos over the years.
What about, though, at GPR specifically?
Well, actually, he's responsible for me coming over here. I ran into Kenny one evening. I was going in to see a movie that he was coming out to see. And I said, hey, what are you doing? What's happening? He said, well, I'm over at Channel 50. He says, you might want to go check it out. They have openings, you know. So I went and checked it out, and that's exactly how it started. But I met him. We worked together at GPR. Yeah.
So, Kenny, when GPR was up and in operations, was it just as difficult for black people to get into the production aspect, you know, as it was for them to get on air?
Well, back when I started, they were looking for African Americans to get into the television industry, and so, you know, I didn't have an issue getting in. It wasn't, I'm sure it wasn't easy at all the other television stations, but at WGPR, because it started out as a black television station, and then it ended up, you know, becoming part of CBS, you know, and but things changed, but they changed for the good, and if it wasn't for this television station and the career they allowed me to have here, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I mean, I have nothing but good memories, good thoughts about them. Everything was absolutely beautiful. I can't think of anything more that this station could have done to be a blessing to me.
Yeah.
Because they were for 42 years.
Yeah, which part of that we have to address, which isn't necessarily always the fun stuff, but it did at one point end. So what was that like for the both of you?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
When news ended.
Okay. I was sad about it because I wasn't ready to leave. You know, I wasn't ready to do something else. I hadn't really thought about it that much, but and it kind of came as a surprise. You know, you get feelings and you hear things and see things, but when they cut it off, they cut it off. I think we'd been on. I think it went on 86 and stopped in 2002. Well, those are close dates if they're not exact. I was disappointed, you know, and but you know, you go, you know, hey, you play the hand that's dealt you. So I just did some other things and went on. And I come back every now and then and get to do some fun things like this. And so it's not like totally gone, but it's gone in the context in which you ask. But no, we survived.
Yeah, but was it a shock?
It was shocking to me because I had sort of an idea. It wasn't so much of a shock as a disappointment. You know, you think I'll be here till I'll leave. Well, I don't make the rules. You learn some hard lessons in the meantime too.
How about for you, Ken?
Well, it was sad. It was disappointing, but the station had so much other work for me to do in public affairs. Yeah. We just moved on, you know, and I enjoyed just producing and directing the public service programs that they had. And I'm hoping one day maybe even to get back to doing some of that, you know, but I'm just kidding. I'm done.
I think we're hiring.
I would still be here if it wasn't for the fact that when I retired because I had some kind of nerve damage in my neck, and I went and had some surgery, and I wasn't as volatile and able to move as well as I should, as I can now. So I had to retire back then so that they could move on and do what they're doing today, and that's why you have all of what you have right now.
Yeah. Did you ever think, one, that CBS Detroit News would come back, and two, that it would come back at this capacity?
No. But I'm so glad it did. And I'm looking forward to what it's going to do to provide the kind of services that a newscast needs to provide for this community. You know, we got what, 2, 7, and 4, but now we have 62, and we have the CBS Detroit News, and I'm just hoping that this newscast will, all the things that the other newscasts are failing to do, you will do it here, so that the viewers can have the kind of news, the good news, not the bad news, but the good news that, you know, this market needs right now.
I never thought, I mean, Detroit is a big market. I don't know what number we are now, but we were as high as 5, I think, at one point. I couldn't believe that one of the major networks stopped doing news. And I remember somebody making a reference to news is a money-sucking operation, and it just was too expensive, I guess, or, you know, because we had one newscast. And other stations have 4, 5, 6, you know. And then you have stations like CNN that have all day. But I was surprised. I was just surprised. I didn't understand. So there, I'm glad it's coming back.
Did you think it'd come back like this, though?
Well, I don't know. You got it. There's a certain, there are unwritten rules, you know, that you kind of have to follow, and with the product itself. So there's a yes and no, you know. And that's a good way.
This is amazing. What I'm seeing here now is like, I didn't see this at all back then, you know, because everything we did was pretty manual. You know, everything we did was kind of manual.
Good word,
you know?
good word.
But now everything is electronic and it's computerized, and like you got one person operating 4 cameras.
Literally.
Literally. How do you do that? But it's awesome. I mean, I'm so glad I'm here to see this. But
Well, I hate to say it, but there is a room here where I got some old photos and tapes, and we call that the museum. No offense.
No offense taken.
The museum.
The museum. Because some of those, first of all, how you even picked up a camera is beyond me. Because those cameras back in the day were 85 pounds.
Huge, heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that now is in our museum. So it's a lot easier to move around, at least with the digital and the wheels and all of that kind of stuff.
No
I don't think I could perform as well today as I did back then. Okay.
You don't know until you try.
Okay.
No, he's not.
Well, from your perspective, Kenny, what were some of the more memorable Detroit news stories?
You've had a ton of them.
Remind me of one of them.
You know, one thing, and you know, people say, it's just bad news. You just do, you know. You can't make it up. I mean, if you got to report on what's happening, and if nothing's happening or nothing has changed too much, what can you do? I think we get a lot of unfair criticism. I think that's where I was going with this. But you got to report what it is. It's as simple as that. I preface that with, I can remember some really sad stories, you know, which it never changes. The kids getting hurt and getting killed and drive-by shootings and stuff like that. And you kind of hate to do that, but it is what's happening. And it hasn't changed a whole lot. So.
But I think what was different about the new CBS then that is similar to what we're doing now, more so than the other stations back then, is you all were always so embedded and involved in the community. You know, we were talking about this before with the telethons, the Chocolate Jubilee, the auto show, you know, I remember distinctively you all were everywhere. And I think that had to have made a difference. Do you think so?
And we carried the Lions football games.
And so Tigers and Pistons,
and we were doing a lot of, you know, work there in sports.
You
know, and that's something I miss tremendously.
I miss, that was fun.
Yes, it was.
If I'm not mistaken, Channel 50 was almost a sports station. Because I remember some of the old guards saying if they had a girls' basketball team, we'd go cover it. And then we often were the Lions station, the Tigers station.
I even had a chance to ride on, what was the Pistons playing, was it Round Ball 1?
Oh, yes.
To Chicago with the Pistons when the Pistons played the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan, I was on the plane with the Pistons, riding there and covering the game and coming back. It was awesome.
Where else would you ever have an opportunity like that? I remember one thing when I used to do a daily live talk show, and what's his name? Nichols, he was the police chief at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and he came to the studio in his helicopter, and you were in the
And he took me for a ride.
You went in the helicopter?
Yes.
Yeah, and
right around, and he took it right around the station.
Yeah, he and Laura.
I've never been in a
Robo.
helicopter before. It's like.
And have you been in one since?
No.
And the doors were open. You had to hold on to the strap.
Oh, no.
And then when we landed in the parking lot.
We. You got on the thing too?
Oh yeah. Of course. You
Wow.
Kenny.
Now see if I did that. Go ahead.
Let me finish my story.
Okay, finish your story.
Before we could get one foot out, George Williams, who was the GM at the time,
yeah.
beautiful guy.
He was.
And he said, if you had crashed, it would have been your own fault, and there was an unauthorized flight, and he almost beat me up right out in the parking lot. I said, well, I'm sorry, George, but I had a good time. We would drive around looking for our house. I was trying to see where it was.
Oh gosh, thank goodness nobody let go and you fell out.
And the doors were open. You better hang on to that strap.
Oh, did you tell my dad?
No, I don't. Well, I don't remember, to tell you the truth. Yeah,
I think I got you both beat. In talking about the Pistons, my claim to fame with all of my former sports directors, we were doing a promo, and Isaiah Thomas taught me how to shoot free throws. Do you remember I had on that like neon track outfit?
Wow.
I know, I would never want to do that again ever in life. But those were the fun opportunities, that we were afforded.
That other people weren't getting,
Yeah.
That is nice.
Well, yeah, because that is honestly how I remember it, of you all involved in the community more so than others, and then the others tend to follow suit.
Working here for me was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. I mean, all the general managers and the managers and all the employees, it was just a beautiful environment, and I enjoyed it so much. And you enjoy coming to work every morning.
Yeah. And you know what else that reminds me too, what stuck out? You all always included other stations, and things like that, like the Chocolate Jubilee. You had anchors from other stations and reporters from other stations. It truly was a community effort and a backing.
With a good cause and a good result.
Yeah, there was a lot of good to come of it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's take a little bit of a break, and we will be right back in just a few.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Macomb County. Hi, we're CBS News Detroit. But we don't just cover the news here. We're also here, and everywhere in between. The places you live, work, and play in Southeast Michigan. We're talking less of this, and more of the stories that actually matter to you.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock.
That's right, local news just found a home in your neighborhood. We're CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Nice to meet you. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Wayne County. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Monroe County.
CBS News Detroit, the stories you care about.
Live, streaming, and on demand. We're on your block, around the clock.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We live here. We work here.
From North Branch to Southgate.
East Point to Westland.
Wherever you live, we're here for you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Building a better newscast, one story at a time.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Oakland County.
Are you ready?
How would you build the newscast of the future?
Expect the unexpected.
CBS News Detroit.
CBS News Detroit.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We're ready to go live from your community.
Anywhere, anytime.
Live streaming and on demand.
If that's the name of the game.
We are ready.
CBS News Detroit, in your neighborhood. Live, streaming, and on demand.
Welcome back. We have talked a little bit about the history of Detroit television with WGPR into now CBS Detroit. So let's talk a little bit now then, I guess, about news. Unfortunately, we're covering a lot of the same things that you all did back then as it pertains to civil rights and police brutality and different things like that. How do you all suggest that journalists today approach those subjects and do so responsibly?
It's difficult today. There are so many news sources, so many opinions. People talk about fake news, and I swear I never heard of fake news. I didn't know what that was when I first started hearing that expression. For some reason, and I guess it's not all our fault, but we've lost the trust, I think, of a lot of people because of certain people who have been in news who shouldn't have been and told a lot of lies and got a lot of criticism for it. But you know, you can't, if this is the story, all I can do is give you the facts. And if somebody else wants to mess it up and add some stuff in it and sensationalize and dramatize, it gives everybody a bad name. But I don't think it's deserved, you know. And I'm not being defensive. I don't think we deserve that.
Well, what I encourage reporters to do and journalists is to look for the positive things that you can get out of that particular situation. And yes, you're going to report on what's bad and what's harmful and hurting, but there's some good in it. Somewhere somebody's doing something to change it, to stop it, to make it better. And I think we should also include that in our reporting and what we can do to stop this or to change this and make it better for the community.
How do we stay motivated, though, and positive?
Well, you know, there are a lot of bad stories, there's no doubt about that, and Kenny's right. Sometimes if you look hard enough and talk enough, you can find something that's positive or something that kind of shines a little bit. I've heard it said that people like glitz and glamour, you know, and
bleeds, it leads.
If it bleeds, it leads, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, if you have 5 choices, and that's what happened today, and that's what I want to know a little bit about, then if I don't give it to you, somebody else is. And we're in the business to spread information. It's a profit-making business. If that's what's happening, that's what you've got to talk about. And I understand and I agree with you, but that's just not the real world. It just isn't. All you're going to do is turn them off and find somebody who will give you flash and trash. Yeah.
Which really just kind of, it turns you off, you know, and it makes you really just want to turn off the television station and go away. But we've got to find a way to encourage the viewers and comfort the viewers in light of all of
that's a good word.
All of the anger and the hatred that's taken place. There's still something good that we can look forward to, that we're believing will occur to change all of this and stop this from happening.
And it can change. We have to find the roots of what's going on and why. In fact, the first time, I can't remember the school, but it was way on the West Coast where they had the shooting years ago. It was the very first one.
Columbine? Are you thinking of Columbine?
It might be Columbine, yeah. Was Obama president? Anyway, Obama came on the air and he said he started.
Not yet. No, he was not president then.
Okay, well, that was a little later. And he said there is something fundamentally wrong with the United States. And he was right, and he is right. And that's where I think we need to focus. Not what is happening, why is it happening?
Yeah.
And then maybe you can kind of stop it from happening.
And just think about this story that recently they reported about that young man that was killed by the police officer.
In Memphis?
You know.
Oh, man.
And how sad and disturbing it is. But there's a positive side to that too. Because we can hire better trained, better educated, and better paid police officers. They should be some of the best paid employees out there because of what they are we expect them to do, and the risk that they're taking doing it. But we just need better officers that are the best paid officers that out there that are performing that job to protect and serve, like we sent them out there to do.
But there has to be some level of difficulty, I would think, in just the bias, you know, of it all. Because obviously we all have our feelings. We want things to be a certain way. But when you just, how can you remove that bias and just stick to the facts? You know, that's difficult, at least, you know, for most people, I would think.
Well, I don't know. It shouldn't be difficult, and even if it is, we should do it anyway, because we've got to get to the bottom. We've got to get to the truth. Everything that's happening now, it was there. People have decided it's okay to bring it out now and say what I want and do what I want and shoot who I want. But that's not new. So whatever is fundamentally wrong, we haven't found it. We haven't chipped at it. We've got to do that, or we are going to totally self-destruct. Yes. I really believe that. Because it just can't go on like that. Here you got your kids, they're going to school, they're going to church, they're going roller skating, other people going out to dinner, going to a concert, whatever. You're liable to go out and die, because we got some rough problems, some rough people out here now. It's scary. It's more scary if you have kids. You're worried about what they do, and I don't care how old they are. Your kids are always going to be your kids. And I do worry about what we're leaving them. Not to do an ascertainment on the air, but the weather situation. It's just, we're going to destroy this planet. I mean, literally, if we don't start changing some things and doing some things and stop trying to make us, the people who are telling you about it, look like liars, because we're not, because it's very true, and they can prove it. They can prove it. A quick plug for An Inconvenient Truth. That was a great movie that, who was
Al Gore.
Al Gore was extremely involved in. If you watch that movie, it'll scare you. It's very entertaining, but it'll scare you to death, because it says this race, for lack of a better word, of animals dying off, polar bears, this and that, and the rivers and lakes have lost inches, and the fires are going to burn California, the floods are going to ruin the East Coast. All that stuff is true. You know, it's a little scary, but we need to pay attention. That's all I'm saying.
Well, then let's switch gears to some happier notes. We kind of went down a not so happy path there. What story from CBS now, moving on from GPR, what is your fondest CBS Detroit memory for both of you?
Well, we haven't really been in.
I figured that's what was coming.
Well, because it's new to us. CBS is new to us, and I'm thrilled that you're CBS. I think that's wonderful. I think that's a beautiful change. But memories, my memory will be in here on one of the first nights. I came in here, was able to walk around, see people I hadn't seen in years, look around, see the differences, and be proud of what, hey, I'm a little piece of this, you know. And I look forward to that. You've got wonderful people here who were here in our day. Paul Pitlawani is one of them. And wonderful, wonderful guy who's doing everything he can to make things, hard worker, dedicated worker. So I'm going to start, invite me back in a year and ask me, because I'm just getting started now.
Well, that could be job security for me then. They got to keep me at least a year, right?
Yeah. And you know, I was producing and directing some of the public affairs shows like Street Beat, and when the host of Street Beat, when she couldn't make it, and I would fill in to be the host. And I was actually hosting a show. I never thought I would ever be doing anything like that. I was always working behind the scenes, but I enjoyed it so much that this station allowed me to do just about anything that was on my heart.
You did the telethons. We had 6 or 7 telethons, and you directed, I think, most of them.
Those telethons were fun.
Yeah.
Very fun.
And important, they were very successful in terms of monies raised for Alzheimer's, for UNCF, for what is the dog organization?
Humane Society?
Humane Society. A lot of Children's Hospital, a lot of really good causes that we were able to affect and help.
This is an awesome television station, and this community, I mean, they're really benefiting for this station being on the air here and what they're doing out in the community. You know, I know that for a fact.
Well, and Detroit viewers are very serious and loyal viewers. Detroit news viewers.
Yes, they are.
So how can we keep them here? What do you do to gain their trust back and to build that loyalty that you all were able to do?
Tell the truth. Go out in the community and get involved in what's happening. What are you concerned about? What can I do about that? Promise to always tell the truth. Be involved in their activities. And that's the crux of it all. And just don't go, you know, it's okay these days to do anything, to wear anything, and just, I mean, and sometimes you go a little too far. But just try to strike somewhere in the middle where people will believe you and they won't think you're stirring the pot or whatever. And I think that can do it. And then don't get caught in any kind of a situation that is wrong or have the appearance of being wrong, because that makes people say, huh, I told you, I told you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And keep people on the air like you that are willing to discuss situations like this publicly, so that we can make the changes that need to be made, so that the viewers can really be comfortable, you know, watching this television station and really be encouraged.
And it's not always easy to do that, but
you
can. Yeah.
Because I watch a lot of news, and I'm depressed most of the time, you know, that I'm watching. And you should be able to report what's going on and still encourage your viewers, you know, to just stay tuned.
Is that what you see is lacking right now in Detroit news television?
Yes, I do. I just, it's a lot of disappointing news, and the manner in which they're going about reporting it, you know. It's like they're reporting it just to keep your attention, just to get your attention, rather than to really help you get through it, think about it, and go to work and help change it and make it better. Encourage us to do things better so we can live together better and our communities can be better. And that's what I think the news should be encouraging us to do.
And not that I'm justifying or being defensive or anything, but we're not any different from anybody else. You know, everybody wants to say Detroit is horrible from this standpoint, from that standpoint, and we have problems. Nobody will deny that. But it's not like we're some monster that reached up out of the ground and started shaking things up. We just, you just have to think differently. You have to get outside of the box, as they say, and do the best you can with what you can and tell the truth. It gets back to that.
It all comes down to being honest, accountable, and saying it like it is.
Honest, accountable, say it like it is, and involved, be involved.
Yeah.
You got it, that old expression, you can't, you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. It's true.
That's true.
Just work at it. You got to continue to work at it.
Yeah. Well, any other advice for new CBS Detroit talent?
My advice would be, I think what I've already said, you got to tell the truth. You got to never give up. A lot of people, for some reason, will discourage you from what you're doing or what you're going to do. And believe in yourself. I remember when I first came to GPR, I think it was. Anyway, I had a job at another organization, and I was being paid something like $22,000, which was a fortune, I guess, back then. But, wait, no, I lost my train of thought. I was offered this job for less, and I took it, and everybody said, you're crazy. And it was the best decision I ever made in my life. You know, it's chancy, but what isn't chancy, you know? And so I thought it was my time to take my leap. I took my leap and fell well. Yeah.
And one of the things we did, we were a team. We all worked together, we stayed together, we enjoyed working together, and that's one thing that these television stations have to do with their employees. It's help them to realize you're a team. Don't compete against one another.
Good point.
Don't compete against one another. Work together with each other to make each other better.
Yeah, because it was all of us here, families, kids. I was running around, your kids were running around.
Yes.
That, you know, there's something to that.
It is.
That makes it just a more comfortable environment for everyone.
It really did. I love this television station. I mean, they blessed me for 42 years and they're continuing to bless me, you know, so thank you so much.
But you're not supposed to tell we had kids running around.
Well, we got caught a few times. David Scott's stepson knocked that ladder down during the sportscast with Ray Lane. I remember that. I thought, oh, it was going to be bad news bears for us.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. Well, on that note, we will be right back. Don't go away.
I don't remember that.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Macomb County. Hi, we're CBS News Detroit. But we don't just cover the news here. We're also here, and everywhere in between. You know, the places you live, work, and play in Southeast Michigan. We're talking less of this and more of the stories that actually matter to you.
CBS News Detroit. On your block, around the clock.
That's right. Local news just found a home in your neighborhood. We're CBS News Detroit. Live, streaming, and on demand. Nice to meet you. CBS News Detroit. On your block, around the clock in Wayne County. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Monroe County.
CBS News Detroit, the stories you care about.
Live, streaming, and on demand. We're on your block, around the clock.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We live here. We work here.
From North Branch to Southgate.
East Point to Westland.
Wherever you live, we're here for you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
CBS News Detroit. Live, streaming, and on demand. Building a better newscast, one story at a time.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Oakland County.
How would you build the newscast of the future?
Expect the unexpected.
CBS News Detroit.
CBS News Detroit.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We're ready to go live from your community.
Anywhere, anytime.
Live streaming and on demand.
If that's the name of the game.
We are ready. CBS News Detroit, in your neighborhood. Live, streaming, and on demand.
Welcome back to CBS News Detroit, and look at that face there. That is a cute woman. And we were saying, Mom, and Kenny, you were probably directing that show where the still frame was taken.
Yes. And that was Governor Milliken on the left, yeah.
Gosh, you all have met some amazing people.
Yes.
Who sticks out the most?
Oh, God, I met so many.
I saw some pictures of you with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, before he was Arnold.
Before he was Arnold. When I was at GPR earlier today, we saw Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff and all types of entertainers. Anybody you think just the moment?
I was very impressed and pleased to meet. She what was her name? It was Chico and the Man.
Chico.
Do you remember that series, Chico and the Man? Mm-hmm. Delarice. She was in the show with him. And she just, you know, some of these people, you're just so glad to meet them. And they're so pleasant and so nice, and others are just so horrible. She was so nice.
Aww.
That it was, I mean, it just made you feel good. And most people are a lot nicer than their image. But, God, I met so many of them. I can't believe I can't give you a few names. I'm trying to give you a big name that you'll know.
I remember Sidney Poitier.
Sidney Poitier was just one of the most gracious people I've ever met. Gosh, you know, all the governors, the United States senators.
Anybody stand out to you, Kenny?
Isaiah Thomas. When I was directing some of the sportscast for the basketball, you know, Isaiah and Joe Dumars and
oh, the Bad Boy days.
The Bad Boys,
That's
yes.
right.
The 80s, yeah.
We
and
covered those.
That was our station.
That was our station.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the time to have them.
Yeah, and some of them would even come over to my house and talk to my kids, you know, and introduce themselves to my kids. So they were very nice.
I remember that. There was a Dennis Rodman basketball camp.
Yes.
Did one of your kids go to that too?
Yes.
Rudy did,
so.
my brother. Yeah. Oh, that was fun.
And she'd bring a pillow and sleep in the back seat while he was doing his camp thing, and I'm sitting up there.
I've never been a morning person. Nor have you.
Nor have I.
To be fair.
Yeah, but we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, any last closing thoughts?
My only closing thought is don't give up. If you really want to do this, believe in yourself and do it. Do whatever you can, knock on whatever doors you can, get whatever experience you can, and you got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. And it's the most fun I've had. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it can be very, very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, my closing thoughts is just to give this television station a huge thank you.
I agree.
I could not have done what I did here anyplace else. They allowed me to do everything that was put on my heart to do, that I wanted to do, that was good to do. And all the general managers and the managers and all the employees, they were just all so good. And I'm just prayerful that this station now will continue being what they have been over these years, and that all the employees here will just love being here and love working here, and the community will really appreciate what you all are doing here to just let it be known that, you know, we are living in some good times.
43 years for you.
Yeah.
43 years, you're not supposed to tell that.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, and I would probably still be here if I didn't have to have that surgery on my neck, you know, but because I loved it. I didn't want to leave, but.
Yeah, then that's rare for people to say about their jobs. But, you know, the CBS Today is much like that in the sense that all of our people get to do a little bit of everything.
Yes.
You know, my title is executive producer of Impacting Communities, but I'm anchoring and reporting, writing, shooting. So similar to what you said, you know, we're getting rid of those silos that once existed in those old newsrooms.
You're right, because back when we were working here, the executive producer was not on the air.
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
No.
That would be a real stretch.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
I even think sometimes it's a stretch for the open newsroom, because you kind of get worried somebody might go rogue.
No. Oh, they better not. Don't even say that.
Well, no, don't give anybody any ideas. Although if someone did, I guess now you all would know it was me.
No, I hope not.
Okay, so we're going to wrap in just a second, but again, your favorite memory in this building for you, Mama?
You mean the new?
In here at what you would have called KBD.
My favorite memory, it was the day I walked in. I was just so happy that I was where I wanted to be, and it appeared as I was going to get to do what I wanted to do, and I was, and the world was right. I just was here and secure here and very happy about it, and that just got better and better and better over the years.
And how about for you, Ken, your favorite moment here?
Oh man, I had so many. You know, I can't really think of one particular moment, but I can say that at one time when they kind of gave a little party, you know, for me to be when I was planning on retiring, you know, and just seeing all the employees that came and that even employees that were no longer working there, they came just to say goodbye. Was just a wonderful opportunity for me to just be thankful, and I'm still thankful.
To take it all in.
Yes.
Well, for me, I think my happiest and most memorable moment is now. You know, and I was just having anchored a newscast. I looked over my shoulder every opportunity to make sure my mom was watching. You know,
Of course.
Yeah. But that is, it's, you know, for us and families who have been here and run through here and grown up here, even to now be sitting here across from you all. I'm not in trouble, like, and we're on air and it's fine. I can't imagine a better or happier ending for all of us, because we were such a family.
And you remind me a lot of your mother.
I was like, are you gonna say my daddy?
No, your mother.
I try, and that's what I have to tell people a lot too, because they get so enamored with her, and I tell them, you know, you forget she was my hero too. And she was my idol too. I grew up watching her too, you know, so this full circle moment is bigger than just you and me, I suppose.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And when she had to, she would come in and let me know. Kenny?
She wouldn't hesitate to even now. I had said that before. At some point in this newscast, I feel like I'm going to turn around and she's going to be right there to sign off, or or something else, just to make sure I get it right.
Yes.
But in her honor, we do have the blazer. because Mom was known for the Blazers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
She
so-
still is.
Yeah, and she still is. Well, thank you all so much
Thanks
for
for
coming
having
here and
us.
talking and joining us,
You're
and
very
hopefully
welcome.
we'll do it again sometime soon.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Thank
All
you,
right.
and all the success in the world to you.
Yes.
Yeah, any thank yous you want to give before we go to anybody?
I want to thank Paul Pilawani for being
Yes,
so
Paul
nice.
Pilawani. Yes.
And I want to thank you, Brian, your general manager, and so many people that are still here from the day. It's fun. It's wonderful. It feels good to be here.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. It feels very nostalgic.
Yeah.
Although I keep going around the corner looking for certain people to be there. Like, I'm still not used to going into Ray Lane's office. I'm looking to see where all the sports flags are. You know, it's
Yeah.
just a
At
little
his house.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you all. And thank you all so much at home for joining us for CBS Detroit News at 7. We'll see you right back here later tonight for CBS News Detroit at 11. Don't forget, you can download our app in the App Store. It's free. You can catch all of our content and our streaming shows. You definitely don't want to miss that. So look for CBS News Detroit in the App Store too. Until 11, I hope you all have a safe night, and I'll see you again later.
Very good. Bye.